Hello folks, we're back at Salute once again, and I'm over here at a magnificent setup by the Chelmsford Gaming Bunker. Chelmsford Bunker. Paul, Dave are responsible for this attack on Marienburg. So who wants to explain what we're looking at first?
Okay, so broadly, the Empire has been weakened by decades of war with the forces of chaos. The Orcs have decided to take advantage of this by banding together with the Trolls, Squigs, numbers beyond comparison, and they've decided to raid the Keyport town of Marienburg, which would then give them control of access to the Sea of Claws, or all the trade routes and everything that goes with it. So there's been a huge battle over here with the Orc Navy, which is mostly done and dusted now. Their objective was to get to the beach. A few of them have made it. The Empire in pursuit, but they're not going to get them in time. And while that was raging, a huge amount of greenskins came down out of the hills to attack the town itself, as you can see there. Lots of buildings have been set ablaze, the siege towers have made it, etc., etc. Fortunately, some Imperial cavalry have arrived from Altdorf on the far end there, and there's been a dwarf unit here and there just outside the walls fighting for the sake of it, isn't there, Paul? I think there's some slayers or something somewhere, but yeah. Paul will know more about that bit.
Yeah, so we had a unit of Joseph Bugman and his Bugman's Rangers, which have performed like movie stars or like the Avengers or something, and it's just like
they always do,
been undefeatable. Basically, I'm like, well, they're just not going away, are they? And they're just being rock stars. But yeah, so it's a sprawling War Master game as well, connected to the Man of War.
Yeah. So who set all this up as far as miniatures and terrain? Is this a group effort, or has it been just sort of pulled together by multiple people in the club?
Multiple people, as in me and Dave. Dave's done the lion's share of it, so I'll pass it over to him and he'll explain what he's gathered, and then I'll do my part.
Okay, so the scenic tiles, which are a bit out of alignment at the moment, they're all from TSS. The town itself, it was all 3D printed from various different sources, including Cromarty Forge, who supplied basically the walls and other bits and pieces as well. The Man of War stuff is things that I've had lying around since the 90s. Half of it painted, half of it unpainted. And the hardest part of getting that ready was when I went to paint the half that wasn't painted. The paint didn't exist anymore that I'd painted the first half with. So I had to try and match up the colours as best I could. I got there more or less okay. Generous amounts of null and oil tended to merge everything together, and nobody's mentioned it so far, so I'm quite pleased with the result. The armies for War Master are all Paul's. Beautifully painted, we've done a really good job there, including the latest edition, which has got Trek and Felix there in the tower fighting to defend Marienburg itself, which is fantastic.
So what's the setup then for the actual scenario on land?
So we kept it quite simple with such a game, is in terms of like we play it out, and see how much of the castle the Orcs could get into, and then judge it as the day went along, like how we were doing. So kept it very loose. But essentially, the Empire wouldn't be able to get any more troops, but the Orcs would respawn because they just need a hell of a lot more troops than we actually have for them to that to get through.
And how's it going so far? Because I see an awful lot of fire inside the castle walls.
So Orcs have managed to actually take one of the towers. They've scaled up the ladders. They managed to break the drawbridge down with a battering ram, but it's very dicey. I mean, you need to be extremely lucky to win a siege. Rather than just going for starve them out, which I guess more historically accurate. But yeah, no, it's been cool. It's like we have it as in, if we were keeping track of the Orc and Goblin killed dead, then what their losses are, it's like
acceptable. Their losses are always acceptable.
Always more, I suppose, but they've lost a significant more than the Empire, because we've kept the Empire just whatsoever on the table.
So if people want to join you, where do you meet? Where's the best place to look for you?
So Chelmsford Bunker. So we're in Chelmsford in Essex. We're based out of the Essex Police Sports and Social Club, and we meet on Wednesday nights, and from 6:30 till 10, where we have our regular gaming venue, and then we run events either at that venue or at another venue in Chelmsford.
And because I'm looking at War Master and Man of War here, presumably then there's a large spread of games that you actually play.
Yeah, there really is. Some nights we could have a dozen tables which have a dozen different systems on them. There's quite a few lifer gamers there who have played things through their whole life since they were kids, myself included. And it's a real big spread of war games in there.
Fantastic stuff. Well, there you go, folks. Now you see what happens when you sell off part of your city. The Empire should never have given Marienburg away, and they reap what they sow. Let me know what you think below. Bye-bye. Hello, everybody. We are back at Salute once again, and I am joined by Lee, dressed magnificently, putting me to shame.
Do my best. I do my best.
And we're looking at possibly one of the biggest tables for Blood and Plunder I have seen. And certainly if you're going to be playing a naval engagement at 28 mil, having a bit of room to manoeuvre probably isn't a bad idea. So can you tell me a bit about the game itself then?
Okay, so this is Blood and Plunder. This is the new Kickstarter two-player box set. It's actually a box set and a half. So we've expanded it out to the sort of more historical version of what happened. So we've got Blackbeard moored up overnight, and then the Royal Navy, Maynard and Midshipman Haig coming in on their 2 sloops for the day. While it is a big board, it's quite narrow in places, which if you look over there at the moment, they're finding out, which they're about to run aground. So it's all the new plastic stuff apart from the little Bart there. They're beautiful kits, really. And when it hits retail, I'm sure everybody out there will want to buy some.
I've built 2 of the sloops now myself, and went over the top with detailing, which I shouldn't have done. Yeah. I replaced all the dead eyes with walnut dead eyes and brass drops.
Ooh,
yeah.
Lovely.
You didn't. Well done.
I haven't had time. Yeah. I really haven't had time getting all this lot ready, all the crews and everything. Obviously, it's only landed in the last sort of 2-3 weeks. So a lot of board building before that. It's, the map that it's sort of based on is from Angus Constam's raid book, right? Which is Blackbeard's last fight. So when we saw that it was coming out, I'd got this book. It went straight to that picture, and it's like, that is the table I want to play on. Yeah. And now it's reality, and it's also won best presented at Salute this year, so I'm really chuffed with that.
I imagine it's because of the trim on the hat.
Well, what can I say? It's I think it's the coat. I do. Who doesn't love a red coat?
So as far as the game itself goes then, is there a specific scenario from the Raise the Black?
So in the Raise the Black rulebook that you get with the two-player Kickstarter, with the 2-player starter set, there is a scenario which is the 2 sloops chasing each other. We've sort of expanded that out with the shoals and everything else to give you, a large area to play on, but also a challenging area to play on as well. You've got to watch out for trying to get 2 sloops through a narrow gap, and Blackbeard's actually got to turn around because he's facing into the wind. So, it's an interesting scenario to play. It's sort of expanded from the one that's in the book.
And if I remember correctly, only Maynard's ship actually arrived with Blackbeard. The other one got peppered early doors.
It gets a broadside. It actually kills Midshipman Hyde, who's in charge of the Ranger, and it runs them aground. That does. What's also quite interesting is while Maynard's crew catch up with Blackbeard, it's actually Blackbeard that boards them, which is a extremely piratey thing to do. You're outnumbered. They've caught up with you. Yeah, we're not fighting on my ship. I'm coming to you.
It's the way to do it. I mean, offense is the best form of defense, they tell me. So if people want to see this, apart from Salute, do you bring out any other occasions?
It is going to be in Exeter in about 3 weeks' time, the middle of May. And because we're down in Cornwall, so we're Cornwall Wargames Association, we are looking maybe to bring it up country, maybe a partisan, something like that. But, it's all ready to go. So it's just getting the logistics of travelling that far. But, if you guys want to give us a shout and tell us where you'd like it, we'll try and accommodate. That's what we're here for. We're having an absolute whale of a time today.
If people want to visit the club then, do you have regular meet-up in a specific place? Or?
Every other Sunday at Quintrell Downs, so just outside Newquay. So if you're down in that area, if you're down on holiday, look us up on Facebook. That's when we put up when the next dates are and what kind of stuff we're playing. We're a very wide-ranging club. As not only have we got this big table here, but the Mark's Little Soldier one just across there is also us. So we've got something like about 40 foot of table here. So, we're quite a diverse club. And yeah, well, new members are always welcome, or just people that want to come down and roll some dice.
Fantastic stuff. There you have it. Another award-winning table, and well worth it, and a fantastic setup as well. Let us know what you think below, folks. We're going to move on and see what else there is to see here at Salute. Hello everybody, we are here at Salute, and I have stopped off by a magnificent looking table from the Crawley Wargames Club. Scott and Martin are with me, and they're going to tell me exactly what I'm seeing. So, who wants to start? Martin, what am I looking at? What is the force in front of us?
This is Sikh Army versus the East India Company, which is mainly the British side over there. I can't pronounce the actual name of the battle. It's
Ferozeshah.
Yeah. And it's 1845, and it's basically where the British were attacking the Sikhs to try and get into the village and wipe them out, really.
So, how many people are responsible for what we're seeing in front of us then? Is it a massive group effort, or is one lone hero painted all these miniatures in terrain?
You're right. Actually, the chap who's responsible for painting all the miniatures is not here today. Oh. The chap who's responsible for all the buildings is here today, but it's no longer a club member. So most of the figures are one property. I've built up over years, and I managed to get one of our guys to agree to painting them all over the COVID period. The figures are all 15mm nominally. Mm-hmm. Some are smaller, some are bigger. That's the way of life. As we notice ourselves.
Yep.
And they're from a vast array of manufacturers. So our chap is standing in front of some cavalry over there, which comes from Essex and Fighting 15s and Freikorps, originally from Northern Ireland, Freikorps. And the figures represent the East India Company regiments of cavalry, some Her Majesty's cavalry at the time as well, against some Sikh light cavalry who were very disorganised and very poor comparatively. If we move over towards the right-hand side of the fortifications, we've got positions occupied by the elite guard units of the Sikh army. And you'll notice the officers, a couple of them have actually French flags. That's because they were drilled using French manuals by an Italian general. Moving about halfway across the table in the fortifications, we'll see that British have actually managed to just break into the fortifications, but are about to be counter-attacked by the Sikh heavy cavalry, and in the far distance there are some Sikh fanatics. This was all very typical of the battles of the First Sikh War. The British would attack defended positions which the Sikhs occupied. They had to throw them out, but it was hard going. The British were losing 2,000, 3,000 men in casualties out of a force of 10 to 12,000. In the historical battle, the British slept on the battlefield and awaited the second day. And on the second day, they pushed the Sikhs out of the town to find that a second Sikh army of approximately 35,000 arrived, but ran away. Thus, the British Empire was saved for another day, but it was a close-run thing. The buildings are actually all the work of one of the club members. When somebody says, oh, they're red, well, actually, the Agra fort is the red fort.
Yeah.
So it's not untypical to have that. The troops are going through an interesting period of the evolution of British uniforms, in that most troops wear red coats still, but you're starting to see blue trousers and white trousers,
right,
white covers, etc. So you're now starting to get quite a lot of variety in it. And it's been really good being virtually the first game in. From the front door, we spent maybe half of today, 4 o'clock, we spent all of today speaking to people. And it's been a really worthwhile experience. Enjoyed yourselves.
Fantastic. Can I ask what rule set you're using?
Yes, you can.
Age of Tigers. So we're using Age of Tigers. It's one where Scott sort of manipulated it and made it into a set. It's the India 1740-1865 set. It's from Fire and Fury, based on that from years ago, isn't it? So
the original rules, Fire and Fury, American Civil War. There's a guy in the United States, Colonel Bill Gray. He did Age of Eagles, which is Napoleonics.
Yes.
This is people who were trained to fight in Napoleonic manner. So that's Age of Tigers. And you can go to the Age of Eagles website, and the whole thing is a free download.
Oh.
There you go. Something for nothing.
You can't say fairer than that these days. As far as the Wargames Club goes then in Crawley, when do you meet? When can people come along and join you?
Right. So we meet every Friday, 7 to 11, and we also meet at weekends, and it's a case of going to the Crawley Wargames site, looking at that. There is a diary, so you can get a flavour of what we play. It's varied. We don't play any one thing specifically, and like to see you there. You can pop in before you go home.
I would love to pop in before we go home. Who knows, maybe that might actually happen. Depends on how much I have to drink tonight, whether or not I'm still in the country. Right, we're going to move on and see what else there is before Salute closes down. Let us know what you think of this beautiful board and setup, and also what we think of this gentleman on his flying carpet.
Oh, you've noticed him.
Oh, I've noticed him. Until next time, bye-bye.
Bye-bye, thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Hello everybody, we're back at Salute once again, and we have a magnificent table put on by the Friends of General Haig. I'm joined by Steve, aka Bruce. Pleasure to meet you.
And you?
So, can you tell us what we're looking at here on this table then?
So basically we've put together a 15 mil battle for the first Gulf War. So just before Desert Storm started, the Iraqis were attacking through from Kuwait into Saudi Arabia. And I've taken a scenario where the Americans were defending at an observation post, and like all wargamers, I've upped it a bit. I've got Republican Guard coming in, and we've got extra Marines coming in to support them.
So, is it a bespoke rule set, or are you using a specific?
Yeah, we've evolved our own set. So what we've done is we've taken the mechanism of Black Powder, where you get multiple command moves. We're using the shooting factors of Team Yankee Flames of War style. And what that's allowed us to do is to reflect the fire control of the more modern tanks. So the older ones can move once and fire, and the higher technology can move 3 turns and fire, which means you can reflect the different technology streams a lot better. And the other thing is it allows us to do Overwatch, which is always a problem with World War II modern games that have to do an Overwatch. By having multiple moves means you can leave them in Overwatch, and then they can have a penalty to move. It just seems to work well for us.
So, I believe you're responsible for the board as well.
Yeah.
How much time went into this? Because it is absolutely magnificent.
It's been built up over quite a while.
Yeah.
I started just collecting Middle Eastern buildings. The terrain there by the river, there's a guy who actually popped in here, Dougie, he does his stuff, and I stole his ideas of doing little bits there, and he just sort of, that's handcrafted, that takes longer. The terrain squares are fairly easy. Then the buildings was a case of getting the layout right, and then you just glue them all on, and just that's quite quick. But I tried to do the river before I came here and thought, I've got 4 days leave, that'll be done in 2 days. 4 days later, I was still working on it, and it took till last week to finish it.
Well, I mean, it wouldn't be a salute if people weren't just trying to get the last finishing touches done right up to the end.
The scattered terrain of palm trees, I was finishing flocking last night. So I maintained the true tradition of salute.
Oh, God, yeah. There are some beautiful touches as well, and train things like little sort of, presumably a prayer carpet up on the roof.
Yep.
Bits and pieces like that, just really pick out the details and really show the sort of a lived-in world, which I really like, because sometimes you see boards, they're very playable, but they're very sterile, they don't feel like an actual thing.
And that's what, for the rules, what we've done is we've got a placemat, which is basically what the MDF base is. Yep. And I've created like a little village scene on it, and that means you can put the extra trees on there. I'm very keen about maintaining the height. A lot of war games look very flat.
Yeah.
So when you look at the hills, they're only as high as a tank. But by actually making them that high to block a line of sight, it just makes the whole table look more 3D, which I think is quite important.
And how are the forces faring at the moment? Because we can see there's been some engagements already, a few knocked out.
Yes, the Iraqis have struggled to maneuver properly. So they've come on very piecemeal, but now everyone's meeting in the middle, and it's going to be a clash of the titans. And I think the Iraqis have suffered enough attritional losses from the air support and artillery that they're probably going to struggle going forward from now, I think. But the good thing is, it's a fairly fast system. We may have time for another.
Oh, that's always good to hear. Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you, and hopefully your salute continues to be a roaring success. The guys at the Friends of General Haig always do fantastic tables and games. I've been attracted to them since the first time I seen one of them deployed. Let me know what you think below, folks. We're going to move on and see what else we can find. Hello, everybody. We are back at Salute. We've shuffled one table away and found more Friends of General Haig. This time, I'm joined by Andy. And we've stepped back in time as well from the First Gulf War.
Most definitely. So we're in 1627 in Poland, and Gustav Adolf has come south from Sweden and has invaded Poland and has taken this key town of Dirschau. I won't pronounce it in Polish because it's just been demonstrated to me I can't do it. And he and the Polish army have been sort of watching each other for some weeks. But a skirmish developed, and the Polish army got split on either side of this marsh. And Gustav Adolf saw an opportunity, and so he threw his cavalry forward. Now today, unlike historically, the Poles have managed to strike back and are currently giving the Swedes a bit of a whooping.
It's certainly a very dramatic look. Anyway, start off, we'd like to talk about the table, because I'm a fan of teddy bear fur mats. They are a little bit time intensive to produce, but my God, they look fantastic when they're done. And it's also something that you can just stretch out for as long as you need. You just go to a fabric shop and go, I require 4 meters of teddy bear fur. Don't ask me why. So is all the train your own?
It is, yes. So I mean, I'm a big fan of teddy bear fur as well. It's because it's so easy to use. Just roll it up at the end of the day, throw it in the back of the car, and off you go. But when you spread it out, and you've given it a nice comb, of course,
yes,
you've got that lovely 3D effect on it. So I think this is a couple of rugs from Killing Fields, who occasionally produce them, and then I've extended it again and again. So there is actually a join. If you would get close, you can probably see the join. But I've painted on top of the existing one, as much as anything actually, because it's a good activity with the kids. So you get the best painting method is paint on your hands, and then massage that into the fibre, and then just comb the build.
Comb it out.
Yeah. And when you've combed it for a lot, then comb it a bit more, because it's as you say, you've got to stop the clumping.
Well, yeah, that's the worst. If people haven't experienced the fun of teddy bear fur, if you forget the combing step, then all you've got is a solid mass, and it's not really going to have the same lovely look of wheat fields or grass blowing in the wind. Some fantastic looking camp and town at the end there. Where did that come from?
Right, so the town walls are Magister Militum, so they're all resin. The buildings are from Hovels, who are quite an old firm, so they're 25 mil, so they've got a nice small footprint. The MDF board, and then I think most of those earthworks are Paul's modelling workshop, and then just spray it, primer and dry brush it, and some washes and things.
So the big thing here obviously is the miniatures, and you're responsible for all of them. Now, I've seen an awful lot of your work because I follow all the stuff you post all the time. How many figures are we looking at for this scenario, and how long has it been a work in progress?
I really should have calculated that. I do not have. Well, I'm not. I can't. There's lots.
Many.
So 4 years ago, when I think I met you first, in 2019 salute, we were doing. I had a sort of half a Swedish army, and we put on as a club. We put a 30 years war game on, and I was thinking, what do I do with the Swedes next? I was like, they fought the Poles, and so since 2019, I've built up the rest of the Swedes, and then built the Poles, and then there was this event over the last few years that kept me at home quite a lot. Yeah. So all that commuting time got converted into painting time, and I've developed these two armies. So it's been great.
It's a magnificent looking force. What rule system are you using for this then?
So we're using Pike and Shot by Warlord Games because it's nice and easy to tweak, and it's the one that we remember most. So I think
that's key when you're running a game.
Yeah, I'm an avid collector of rules for the period, but at the end of the day, it's what you don't have to refer back to the rule book for. And so if you remember these, then they're great. They're very quick and flexible. And if we play Black Powder for the later period, they're very, very similar. And so it's easy for people to pick up. So, yeah.
I see Gustav is still alive in the middle of the field at the moment, but there's a solid flanking force of Poles coming his way. Do you think he'll actually survive?
Well, historically at the battle, he was wounded and taken from the field, and he was very worried it was a mortal wound, and he started writing his will, etc. But he did recover, and the wound he took here stopped him wearing armour, which is potentially why he got killed at Lutzen, because he wasn't able to wear armour anymore. So I'm hoping that it's funny, because he died historically in a battle, Wargamers are always terribly careful with him and don't tend to throw him in.
But the Lion of the North, he didn't get the name the Lion of the North for being a cautious general who sat at the back of the lines. He should be front and centre charging hell for leather.
This is very true. We're going to have to think about some special rules to encourage a more aggressive play. But it's also said he was very short-sighted, and so he was always trying to get closer to the action to see what was really going on. And apparently that's why he got shot, because he was actually had some of his infantry assaulting the levee crossings, and he couldn't see why they were being held up. And it was a Colonel Butler from Southern Ireland who saw him and got one of his marksmen over and said, "Pop that man," and he got him in the shoulder. So
there you go. Well, as always, it's a magnificent looking game. Thank you for taking the time to speak with us. Let us know what you think below. You've already seen the death of Gustavus Adolphus way over there. Maybe he'll survive this one. Let us know what you think below. Bye-bye.
Go ahead and check out our other content on screen now. And while you're at it, why not hit subscribe and remember to ding our dong. Go on, you know you want to click it. Go on.